Everyone, it's Desiree and I am here with Scrappy Tails, and we are going to focus on the garden stand flowers. And this actually coordinates with the Slimline Garden pop-up stand that Sabrina has created. So there I'm just showing the pieces that I've already die cut, those pieces that I used, or the way that I die cut them, so that you can see how you can use this die set on its own. Let's start with our background. I've cut a piece of blue cardstock. It's a light blue aqua, and I'm just going to add some ink to that. And if you should have colored cardstock, it is easier to have that base of that color, because then you don't have to worry about covering up an entire piece of white cardstock. Why not start with a colored? And I'm simply adding 2 colors to this. The Hero Arts white pigment to create my clouds, and also faded jeans around the edge just to give it a frame. For the grass pieces that I've cut multiples because we're going to go across the bottom of this slim line. And for this, I am using Mowed Lawn and Rustic Wilderness. I'm using one of my fine detailed blending brushes, and I am not looking to blend here. I am looking to just slap this color down. I want it to be mottled. I want it to be blotchy is the best way to say it. I don't want that smooth blend going on any of these pieces that you're going to see me do this with. I'm just scratching and scribbling this color on with this blending, fine detail blending brush. Now you can use a piece of makeup sponge. You can use the original blending tools that we seem to not see so often anymore, but they are still good to do this with, because again, we're not looking for those smooth blends. We're looking for blotchy, to give that different type of texture to each of these items. Some of them I'm only putting Mowed Lawn, some of them I'm only using Rustic Wilderness. So your Mowed Lawn is a lighter shade than your Rustic Wilderness. For these pieces here, I'm just going along the edge. So I am pulling in one of my bigger blending brushes, but again, just, you can see it, it's not smooth. So don't stress over that to make sure I've got to have this smooth. Now you can see I'm just throwing on some die cuts there, and I cut all the different flowers from different colored cardstock. So for these small adorable little white ones, I'm using some mustard seed just to put a little bit of color in the center of those flowers. For my darker aqua flowers, I am going to be using the Mermaid Lagoon, again, just to make it a little bit darker. Now you can use any colors that you would like to use. You could use a darker shade of blue or even white. I'm going to call these poppies because I think they look like poppies. I'm actually using for those Crackling Campfire. Again, going around the edge, and I'm even using my brush for that, just to go around the edge, and again, getting that darker color in the center of these flowers. For the last 2, so I have my yellow flowers, and then I have the lavender flowers. For the yellow ones, I'm going to be using Wild Honey. Again, just focusing on those centers. Now, those centers can pop out. I'm not worried about if they're in there or if they're not in there. I'm doing the same thing. Because I am going to cover them up anyway. So if they pop out, great. If they don't, it's less for me to clean up. You know, I got to think about that. And it's, you know, I don't care. So with the lavenders, I'm using 2 different shades. I'm going to use Prize Ribbon and Villainous Potion. So these can be considered lavenders, but I also, you know, I mix my colors. I don't worry about what the flower is. I just like to add the colors. And I forget what they're called, the drooping, yeah, I just forget. So, you know, I went with what I see in hydrangeas, how you have that mixture of blue and purple. That's what I went with. I'm taking the fence that I've die cut from white cardstock, and I'm going to line that along the bottom edge of this slimline card. Now, this piece here is measuring 3.5 by 8.5. We're actually going to make a 4x9 slimline card for this. As I'm lining these up, I'm making sure that they're just butt up against each other. I know I am going to have this one piece that's going to run off, and I'm just going to trim that with my scissors. So now I've got a fence line going along. And if you notice, by using that blue cardstock and just by adding a white pigment ink, it looks like clouds. They look fluffy. Yeah, okay. I'm now going to line up the grass strips, doing the same thing, just butting them up against each other and putting them along the front of the fence line. Now I'm going to play with the placement of my bushes, the shrubs, the flowers, and all of that. Some of them are going to go behind the fence. I specifically put glue towards the bottom of the fence line that I put in, and the same thing with the grass. I stuck to the bottom, or at least halfway down onto the grass, so that I can tuck things in. Again, just playing with those placements, having fun where they're going to go, and then we're going to have the awesome fun of placing our flowers within them. So you can turn these. What's great with die cuts, and sometimes I find it difficult to get yourself outside of that box to say, yes, this is a flower, but what else could I do with this die? How can I stretch this die that I've purchased? Because everything that we do purchase, it's an investment, and we want to get the most out of that. All the different ways that we can create. Again, this is a die that was coordinated to match up to one of her the Slimline Garden pop-up die, which is absolutely gorgeous, and so much you can do with that. But you can also use these on their own to create your scenes, and that's what I love about die cutting. You can have so much fun creating a scene, manipulating. There's that word again. I love that word for paper. We can manipulate that paper to look like what we want it to look like. We can cut into it. We can give it a different shape. The video that I did before for Scrappy Tails, I did just that. Cutting the tree. I wanted the branches to look like they were coming through the tree. So I was able to just cut away pieces to look like the branches that were coming through, and then having the green coming from the outside to make it look like the branches were there. Just by simply snipping and cutting, we can get great results with our dies and stretch them into other uses for our dies. You can see here I've got my flowers in place. I've got all of where I want them to be. Now I'm just setting them with my liquid adhesive, setting them down, overlapping them, having fun building them up, creating some dimension with some foam squares, because we can never have too much dimension. By all means, if you don't have foam squares, die cut your pieces multiple times and layer them up. That will give you dimension as well. So we always have alternative ways to use what we currently have if we don't have what's already out there. So just something to always think about, of how we can take our supplies and stretch them and get other uses out of them and enjoy them. We should always be enjoying our supplies and what we're creating with. I do have some spare pieces. I have that spare piece of the fence line and the grass and some of those flowers. Something I very rarely do, but I do want to do more. Let's go to that inside of our card base. Again, this is 4x9, a slimline. And I'm going to the bottom right-hand corner, and I added that piece of fence. I added that piece of grass. And now I'm just adding the flowers directly to that. No foam squares, just liquid adhesive. And we have a cute little tiny scene on the inside of our card too. That does not add much bulk to the card. It will close very well. A lot of times though, I don't add a sentiment. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but a lot of times I don't. I love to have a stash of cards on hand with no sentiment because I can turn them into anything I want. This is a great celebration card. This is a great hello card. This is a great with sympathy card. This is a great birthday card. It can be anything that you want that card to be. And plus, I donate a lot of my cards and then they can turn them in to what they would want them to be because I give them little tiny strips. As always, I hope you enjoyed today's video. And if you have any questions, make sure you link them down below and I will get back to you as soon as I can. And I will have the products that I used, the main products that I used listed down below, and they are affiliate links. And I do appreciate and thank you if you do use those. Just know that I do receive a small commission at no extra cost to you. So I say thank you when you do use those. But it's not necessary. Have fun shopping at the Scrappy Tails Crafts website, which also will be linked down below. I hope everyone is having a great day. Enjoy your crafty time and your space. Have fun creating your art, but always remember what's most important. Always be creative, guys, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Till then.